live and archived games. Read about the teams and players. Relive the big moments. Every season, the Trib Live High School Sports Network is your home for high school sports. The best seat in the house is on Trib HSSN.
Welcome aboard. Welcome to nearly November football. A few hours away from that, but it is weekend number one, opening night of the 2025 WPIAL football playoffs here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Don Rebel with you. We're glad to have you with us as always. And we will be running down the scores, 25 games here on opening night around the WPIAL. No 6A games. 6A semifinals come up next week. But we do have games from the other classifications, including the quarterfinals in Class 4A. I'm reaching here because I just want to remind everyone the show presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates. Go local, go with Edgar, helping injured people since 1982. Our playoff coverage throughout the school year is made possible thanks to the sponsorship of Edgar Snyder and Associates. There you have it. All the information right there. EdgarSnyder.com is where you want to go for all your legal issues. All right, let's get to the final scores that we have here on opening night. 5A game that just went final. The 8 seed knocks off the 9 seed. The Shaler Titans defeat the Kiski Area Cavaliers by a score of 28-8. Final just in. The Cavaliers season ends at 4-7. They finished strong to end up in third place in the Big East Conference. Shaler 4-7, but they're headed to the quarterfinals. Won't be easy. A rematch of last week when they lost to Pine Richland 49-17. It will be Shaler at Pine Richland next week in a 5A quarterfinals contest. Another final from 5A in Bethel Park knocks off North Hills 38-7, ending the Indian season at 3-8. Bethel Park now 7-4, advancing to the quarterfinals, where they will face a familiar foe, the second seed Peters Township Indians. Rematch of a game also played a week ago, won by Peters Township 35-0. So two of the quarterfinals in 5A are rematches from week 9. Upper St. Clair also advancing. They knock off Plum 46-8. The Mustang season ends at 5-6. Panthers 9-2 as they will go to the Wolverina next Friday for a quarterfinals matchup with Woodland Hills. Two Big East teams got byes, Woodland Hills and Penn Trafford. One from the Northeast Conference, Pine Richland. One from the the Allegheny 6 Conference, Peters Township. Already two more Allegheny 6 Conference teams advancing with Upper St. Clair and Bethel Park, awaiting the final of Armstrong Moon. Moon at last check was up, so it could be 4 teams from the Allegheny 6 Conference into the Elite 8 in Class 5A. 4A, these are quarterfinal games. It's a shorter tournament, only 3 rounds in Class 4A. Top seed McKeesport, no problem. They roll at home over Chartiers Valley, 44-7. Still marvelous season for the Colts, but it comes to an end tonight. A final record of 7-4. McKeesport advances to 8-3. They'll play the winner of the Mars-Thomas Jefferson game next week in the district semifinals. At last check, TJ was leading Mars in the second half. Aliquippa goes to Trinity and knocks off the Big 6 Conference champion Hillers 21-14. Folks, a lot of folks questioning Trinity being number 2. Trinity Hillers are a good team, but they lose to wild card number 7 Aliquippa at home, 21-14. Trinity's final record 6-5. The Quips improve to 7-3 with that win. And finally, a dandy. I got some details on this. Oh, by the way, Thomas Jefferson 31 and Mars 14. So the Jaguars and the Tigers will be clashing again, this time in the semifinals next week. TJ 9-2. Mars season ends at 8-3. Montour had a 7-0 lead at the half. Did not look good for Newcastle because their star freshman quarterback Marino Graham got hurt, came back. Late third quarter, 56-yard touchdown pass to Damian Harrison. They went for 2, good, and it was 8-7 Newcastle. Then Graham to Chase Lemon, 65-yard touchdown pass, early fourth quarter. 14-7, the 2-point conversion, no good. 14-7, Newcastle led Montour. Third and goal at the 15-yard line with 26 seconds left in the game. Brandon Bennett to Xander Coldmalley for the touchdown. They go for 2. Bennett tried to keep it in right side, tackled at the 3-yard line, no good. Montour did recover the onside kick, but ran out of time. Final score, Newcastle 14, Montour 13, in a clash of Parkway Conference champions. Spartan season ends at 7-4. Red Hurricanes 9-2 as they head to the semifinals to take on Aliquippa. So it's another battle of Parkway Conference teams in the semifinals next week. Newcastle defeated Aliquippa earlier this year. All right, let's go to Class 3A now. First round matchups. North Catholic rolls big over Burrow, 56-14. Buccaneers season ends at 4-7. The Trojans 8-3. They will move on to the quarterfinals, play either Beaver or Freeport. And North Catholic at 8-3 will take on number 4 seed Elizabeth Forward at EF, the Warriors, with a first-round bye. Hopewell ends the season of the Southmoreland Scotties 42-6. The Vikings prevail. They hadn't made the playoffs since 2012. Their return is a good one. Vikings 42, Scotties 6. Hopewell now 7-4. They will be at UPMC's Graham Field in Wilkinsburg next week to take on Imani Christian. That should be an explosive matchup. Both the Vikings and Saints can put points on the board. Southmoreland, their season ends a strong one at 9-2. And Highlands blanks Derry 14-0. The Golden Rams improved to 8-3. Next week, head to Sarge Albert to take on the number 3 seed Central Valley Warriors, who had a first-round bye. Derry's season ends a final record of 6-5. All right, to 2A now. Final score, Washington defeats Beaver Falls 37-7. The Little Prexies improving to 9-2. They'll play either Waynesburg Central or South Allegheny next week in a quarterfinal matchup. Beaver Falls season ends at 4-7. That's 4 more wins than they had a year ago. Apollo Ridge, one of 3 teams to share the Allegheny Conference Championship, wins at home at Owen Field. They knock off Riverside 28-7. Panthers season ends at 5-6. Apollo Ridge now 8-3, and they will take on number 2 Western Beaver. The Golden Beavers had a first-round bye. That's next Friday night. Apollo Ridge, a long trip to Industry, PA, to take on Western Beaver. Final just in, Elwood City wins at home 35-13 over Keystone Oaks. The Golden Eagles season ends at 4-7. Elwood City joins Western Beaver into the quarterfinals from the Midwestern Athletic Conference. They're 7-4, and they will head to Campbell Field in Munhall next week to take on the 3rd seed Steel Valley Ironmen, who had a first-round bye. All right, finally in Class A, the number 1 seed, the Fort Cherry Rangers, trying to make it 3 straight district championships, off to a good start. They win, as expected, 48-14 over Avella. The Eagles season ends at 6-5. Fort Cherry now a perfect 11-0. Next week, the Rangers against the Neshannock Lancers. Neshannock defeats Leechburg by a score of 49-14. Big win for the Lancers, who had lost to Southside and then last week to Laurel out of the Big Seven conference. Leechburg season ends at 7-4 with 2 straight losses after their Week 9 loss to Greensburg Central Catholic. Neshannock 8-3, Fort Cherry 11-0. They will meet in the quarterfinals next week. Laurel blanks Jefferson Morgan 35-0. Victory for the Spartans, who improved to 10-1. They'll play either Chartiers Houston or Southside in the next round. Jefferson Morgan season ends at 8-3, another first-round playoff loss for the Rockets. Finally, we got 2 scores on the right side of the bracket now. In Class A, the Clairton Bears, the shutout streak continues. They win in their first game at Tyler Boyd Stadium, first playoff game, I should say, 50-0 over the Monessen Greyhounds. The Hound season ends at 6-5. Clairton improves to 10-1, and they will be playing the Jeanette Jayhawks. This final just in, Jeanette 38 and Bentworth 24. So the Bearcats season ends at 8-3 with that home loss. They're celebrating soccer gold, though. Congratulations to the Bentworth boys and girls. The boys' 3rd straight WPIAL soccer championship. The girls' first ever WPIAL championship. Football team, no triple crown this weekend at Bentworth as the Bearcats lose to Jeanette 38-24. Jayhawks now 8-3. So another rematch from 2 Eastern Conference rivals, 10-1 Clairton against 8-3 Jeanette next week. A lot of points on the board at Dormont Stadium tonight as Bishop Canavan holds off Greensburg Central Catholic 50-35. The Centurions into the playoffs as the 5th place team in the Eastern Conference, thanks to a victory over Leechburg last week. Their season ends at 5-6. Bishop Canavan now 8-3, and they'll play the winner of the Fraser, California game in the quarterfinals next week. One other final in this from 2A, tight one in Bessemer, where Mohawk defeats Our Lady of the Sacred Heart by a score of 17-14. The Chargers, the number 4 team, or the number 3 team. No, they are the 4th place team out of the Allegheny Conference in 2A. They finished with a record of 5-6, and Mohawk 6-5, and they are playing some good football as they head to the quarterfinals, where next week the Warriors will take on top seed Seton LaSalle, I would imagine, at Dormont Stadium next Friday at 7 o'clock. So awaiting 2 more Class A finals, 1 more 2A final, 1 more 3A final, and 1 more 5A final. Well, Chris Lackner working quickly, our producer here tonight, shares that Freeport has defeated Beaver. That's 8-9 in the Class 3A playoffs, 35-27 the final score. So the Bobcats, who finished in 4th place in the strong Western Hills Conference, their season ends at 5-6. Freeport now 8-3, a 35-27 win over Beaver. Freeport, tough task. They will be visiting Avonworth, the number 1 seed, undefeated Antelopes, the defending champions, next Friday. So the 3A quarterfinals are set for next week. It will be Freeport at Avonworth. That's the 8-1 game. North Catholic at Elizabeth Forward. That's the 5-4 game. Hopewell taking on Imani Christian in a 10-2 matchup. And Highlands at Central Valley 6-3 next week. Another final in as we'll wait for our recaps. Plenty of recaps coming up from a lot of these games, but a lot of them just ending. In Class 5A, the Moon Tigers rolled to a 48-21 victory over the Armstrong Riverhawks. A lot of talk, really, since the brackets came out last Saturday. Did Armstrong deserve to be in? Well, at some point, you stop talking. And to be honest, they held their own early on. This was a tight game before the Tigers pull away for the victory, 48-21. Armstrong's season ends at 4-7. Moon improves to 8-3, and they head east to visit the Big East Conference runner-up Penn Trafford next week. So the 5A quarterfinals are set for next week. It's a Week 9 rematch in the Northeast Conference. Shaler will, at 4-7, will be at Pine Richland. The Rams, with a record of 9-1, last week beat Shaler in Shaler by a score of 49-17. I just mentioned Moon at 8-3 will travel to Penn Trafford to take on the Warriors at 9-1. Penn Trafford beat Moon, and that's a big reason why Penn Trafford had a bye this week, and Moon was in action, and now Moon has to go to Penn Trafford because the Warriors beat the Tigers earlier this year in a non-conference matchup. It'll be the Bethel Park Blackhawks visiting the Peters Township Indians. Bethel Park hosted Peters Township last week and lost 35-0. And it will be the Upper St. Clair Panthers at 9-2, visiting the Woodland Hills Wolverines at 8-2. The Wolverines, the Big East Conference champions. Getting a chance to host a postseason game at the Wolverina. All right, another final just in as we are starting to wrap up the WPIAL scores from this evening. This is a 2A first-round game. As they did last year, South Allegheny wins big in the first round of the playoffs over Waynesburg Central. Final score from Glassport, South Allegheny 61, Waynesburg Central 13. So the Raiders' season ends at 5-6. South Allegheny improves to 10-1 with the victory, one-sided South Allegheny over Waynesburg Central. So the 2A quarterfinals are set for next week. It'll be the Mohawk Warriors at Dormont Stadium taking on the top seed Seton LaSalle Rebels. It will be the South Allegheny Gladiators taking on the Washington Little Prexies. I don't think that's a home game for South Allegheny. I think that will be a neutral site. The brackets will be updated tomorrow by the WPIAL. But if they do go home, because the other three games are home field with byes, that would be at South Allegheny. But again, I believe that's going to be a neutral site game. Apollo Ridge, the number 7 seed, will visit the Western Beaver Golden Beavers, the Midwestern Athletic Conference champions, and the MAC runners-up, the Elwood City Wolverines, will take on the Steel Valley Ironmen. So on the right side of the bracket, you have two matchups, two teams from the Midwestern Athletic Conference, Western Beaver and Elwood City, 1-2, taking on two of the three champions from the Allegheny Conference, Apollo Ridge and Steel Valley, technically 1-3. South Allegheny got the 2. They'll play Washington from the Century Conference, and Mohawk from the MAC gets 3 teams and will take on Seton LaSalle from the Century Conference as well. We do have an update from the boys soccer championship. I think I mentioned the girls championship. I might not have. So let me give that to you now. The WPIAL 4A girls and boys soccer championships going on tonight at Highmark Stadium. The girls' final goes to North Allegheny. The Tigers, a number 5 seed, they beat Armstrong. They upended number 4 Pine Richland in the quarters, stunned top seed Peters Township in the semis, and they beat number 2 Seneca Valley tonight in double overtime. North Allegheny 2, Seneca Valley 1. Congratulations to the NA Tigers, the girls 4A soccer champions. At the half, the boys soccer championships, Seneca Valley, Fox Chapel are scoreless. All right, let's get our first recap of the night. Check in with Kyle Dawson. He had the call of a one-sided game. His Plum Mustangs made it interesting early, but Upper St. Clair too much as they pull away and knock off the Plum Mustangs by a score of 46-8. Mr. Dawson, take it away.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, the Mustangs started with a little bit of a bang. It was a 36, 37-yard or so interception return for a pick six. Nico Signor picked off the first pass from Ethan Hellman, which actually was the first play for Upper St. Clair from scrimmage tonight for the Panthers. But that didn't last long. I thought Upper St. Clair responded really well. It was one of the things I chatted with Mike Junko about not only before the game, but after the game, which you'll be able to read about here in a little bit on the website. But yeah, not really a close game. They responded quickly. Upper St. Clair scored the game's next and only other 46 points after that pick six and the 2-point conversion from John Nonnenberg to Signor. In fact, after an offsides call by against Upper St. Clair. So John Banbury with a couple of touchdown runs, Dante Corey with 2 touchdown runs, Max Leger with a 14-yard touchdown run on the fourth quarter. The other score for Upper St. Clair, this was in the first half, but Ethan Hellman, a 5-yard little pop pass to Randy Yan, and Echeverry ended up capping the scoring with a 30-yard field goal with about 3:19 or so left in the game after the mercy rule had been put into effect on the previous score, which was the Leger run. So it was all Upper St. Clair tonight. Mustangs, I think, had a pretty great season, all things considered. Could have easily folded after they were 2-5, and talked with Matt Morgan a little bit after the game real fast, and he was pleased with his seniors. He was pleased with the first half that Plum had tonight in a 21-8 lead at the half for Upper St. Clair, but I think the better team showed in the second half and mistake here and there, and big plays from Upper St. Clair. The difference in this one is the Panthers win 46-8 to set up a quarterfinal matchup next week with Woodland Hills. And Don, that should be a very entertaining game between a couple of offenses that are very potent. Obviously, Scoop Smith, and it's not just Scoop Smith at Woodland Hills, but those big play guys that they have against a good Upper St. Clair defense. Again, that's battle tested from the Allegheny 6 conference in terms of playing good offenses. But Upper St. Clair can really score it too. So I think that should be an entertaining matchup next week at the Wolverine. I know Coach Junko and his guys are excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, indeed. One of the highlights, I think, of the second weekend of the WPIAL playoffs. Kyle, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Yes, sir. You too, Don.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. 46-8, Upper St. Clair over Plum. New final in, and we're down to just one remaining. Fraser knocks off California 27-12. The Commodores' remarkable season will continue into the quarterfinals. They are now 7-4. California, the Tri-County South Conference champions, dropped to 9-2. That's their final record. So the big debate, last year they only got 3 teams. Tri-County South went 0-3. It's historic that conference has struggled in the postseason, and that continues tonight. First place, California. Second place, Bentworth. Third place, Jefferson Morgan. Fourth place, Avella. All out in round one. Fraser at 7-4 will take on 8-3 Bishop Canavan next week. All right, next we'll stay in Class A. Go over to the other side of the bracket. The 8-9 matchup, Neshannock and Leechburg. James Dotson had the call of that one, and a big performance by the Neshannock Lancers, James.
As long as you don't look at the offensive stats, Don, Yes, in a big performance for the Neshannock Lancers, a 49-14 win for the 9-seed Lancers over the 8-seed Leechburg Blue Devils. In the end, Leechburg outgained Neshannock 278 to 158. So 120-yard difference. They ran 65 plays at Leechburg versus just 29 for Neshannock, but that's because the Neshannock defense and special teams did a majority of the work on the night. First drive of the game, Neshannock forces a 3-and-out for Leechburg. The punt snap goes over the punter's head. He recovers it, loses it, fumbles it again. It's recovered by Leechburg, but at the 1-yard line. The Leechburg defense, though, came up stout, stopped Neshannock on 3 straight runs up the middle. 4th and goal, though, Gina Mazaka, the quarterback keeper, able to punch it in and make it a 7-0 lead early for Neshannock. After another Leechburg 3-and-out, Neshannock gets the ball back. They drive right down the field. Anthony Eakin, the running back, able to punch it in from 6 yards out. It's 14-0. Leechburg could not get anything going with Timmy Andressy, their 1,600-yard running back, does basically everything for that offense. Until that play, though, on the next drive, where they fake it to Andressy, the quarterback keeper, Vargo, untouched 80 yards to the house for Jackson Vargo. Made the score 14-6 and a high-scoring first quarter. Neshannock had an immediate answer, though. 3-play drive right down the field. Gino Mazzacco calls his own number again. 21-6, his second touchdown of the opening quarter. They would get another touchdown drive on their next possession. A quick one, though. A long scoring pass this time. Ryan Cameron catching it up the seam for a 64-yard touchdown. Made it 28-6. Leechburg, a 19-play drive to end the half, but a bad snap in the red zone pushed them back. They were unable to score to end the quarter or to end the half. So it was 28-6 at the half. Neshannock returned the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown. Ethan Beeman, 91 yards. A 13-play drive for Leechburg ends in an interception and a 93-yard pick six for Justin Edworthy. Put the game in the mercy rule, 42-6 late in the third quarter. Neshannock did not run an offensive play on in the third quarter. And they ended the third quarter with another interception that looked like it might have been returned for a touchdown by Anthony Aiken. He was tackled at the 1-yard line. Griffin Wine punched in a couple of plays later into the fourth quarter. And then on the final drive, Timmy Andressy for Leechburg got a few carries, was able to eclipse 100 yards yet again and get his 24th touchdown of the year. He finishes with 132 yards and another touchdown on 25 carries, but 49-14, the losing effort for Leechburg. The number is so skewed because of that last drive, because of the long drives that didn't end in touchdowns for Leechburg, and Neshannock with a defensive and a special teams touchdown and 2 drives that started at the 1-yard line. So the numbers look skewed, but in the end, the Lancer defense, a little bend don't break at times, but they basically controlled this game from start to finish and got the big plays when they needed to. Gina Mazzacco, 3 total touchdowns to lead the way for the Lancers. We're now 8-3 and will take on top-seeded Fort Cherry in the quarterfinals coming next week. Dawn, it's a fantastic night. I'm the only one of my network not in the county tonight, but we got to give a shout-out to Lawrence County. How about a 5-0 mark here tonight? And I got to give a shout-out real quick to Mohawk. Gave up a late touchdown, scored to tie it, got a fumble late in the game with like 30 seconds left, a long pass down inside the 5-yard line. Andrew Lloyd had missed a game-winning field goal earlier in the year against Beaver Falls, kicks the 22-yard walk-off for Mohawk to win that game, 17-14 over Olsh in the 2A game. So need to give a little extra love to Andrew Lloyd, a little redemption for the Mohawk kicker as the boys of Bessemer advance as well. But here tonight, 49-14, Lancers over Leechburg.
Wasn't he involved in Phantom of the Opera?
No, that's his cousin, Mr. Weber.
Okay, all right. I know there was some sort of connection there. Congratulations, 5-0, clean sweep for Lawrence County teams. It was a busy night for you and the gang tonight. It will be busy again next Friday, but that's how you like it. Congrats. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Sir Rebel.
All right, James Dotson checking in. Newcastle, a winner. Elwood City and Mohawk from 2A, a winner. And Laurel and Neshannock, big winners here on opening night of the WPIAL playoffs. All right, Alex Lyons, kind enough to join us now. He was at one of the more anticipated games this evening, the matchup in the quarterfinals of Class 4A between Mars and Thomas Jefferson. Chris Harlan tells me first ever meeting between 2 legendary coaches, Bill Cherpak and Eric Kasparovich, and it goes the way of the home team. Thomas Jefferson back to the Final Four, Alex.
Yeah, TJ now 5-0 lifetime against Mars, and Thomas Jefferson, they were dominant in this game. They got it early and scored often as TJ's opening drive put them on the board. A 7-minute, 11-second drive that resulted in a 30-yard field goal by Sam Wessel, coming off a stellar performance last night to punch TJ's ticket into the boys' soccer state playoffs. So Wessel, a late night last night in double OT for the keeper, started tonight with a 30-yard field goal after a 38-yard return by Hine. Looked like Mars was in business and picked up a first down on a pass interference call on the first play from scrimmage, but TJ's defense would stiffen. They'd get the ball back, and Thomas Jefferson, 2 big plays. Harrison Coling would go 36 yards to Kane Egerton, and then a 40-yard touchdown run by Tyler Eber would make it 9-0 as Aiden Yoakum would block the PAT. But TJ, they weren't done yet. A quick stop on defense and another big drive of 74 yards this time by the Jaguars. Coling would go to B-Coat for 23, then hit Egerton for 11 and a 19-yard touchdown by Kane Egerton. TJ would go for 2. They lined up for the PAT, but after a flag against the Mars Fighting Planets, TJ would go for 2. Eber would run it in. It was quickly 17-0. Again, Mars went 3 and out. This highly anticipated offense for Mars here in this game was awful to start, and it was a lot of what TJ was doing right. And Thomas Jefferson, 4 for 4 to start the game on scoring, as they would cap off a 52-yard drive thanks to a 3rd and 7 conversion. Coling would go to Egerton. And then on 4th down and 6 from the 29-yard line, Harrison Coling would find Egerton for his second touchdown of the half, making it 24-0. TJ would get the ball back and be stopped for the first time tonight. And Sam Wessel saved a touchdown on special teams. High snap, Wessel would one-hand it at his own 30 and then send it 62 yards to the 1-yard line as Sam Wessel, an absolute brilliant punt. And Mars was back at the 1-yard line. They tried to go deep twice, 2 near touchdowns, one to Dunn, one to Hine, both missed. On 3rd down, though, Uriznik would find find Dunaway for 11, and then he'd find Hine for 88 and got Mars on the board. They'd go for 2. Garvin would run it in, making it 24-8 at the half. And all of a sudden, Mars had life. They'd get the football to start half number 2, but B-Coat would break up a 3rd down, which looked like near touchdown. And all of a sudden, TJ would get the ball back, and it was just defenses trading blows. As turnover on down, then on the ensuing drive for Mars, Kane Egerton would pick off the quarterback Uriznik for the first TJ takeaway of the game. After a first down by the Jaguars, they would turn it over on down late in the 3rd quarter. Mars would get it back, but Barilla would pick off Uriznik. So back-to-back drives with interceptions. TJ was set up at the Mars 22, but they would cough the ball up on 4th down and 15. Garvin would pick off Coling. He would take it 44 yards back up the other way, and all of a sudden looked like Mars was in business. They'd start at the TJ 29 and eventually work their way down to 1st down and goal, and 4th and goal came upon them. And guess who? Kane Egerton would step in front of a Uriznik pass and take it 98 yards to the house, making it 31-8. A late touchdown as Uriznik would hit Yoakum on a screen for 44 yards. Mars would get the last score in the game, but Thomas Jefferson dominant here tonight, and they set up a championship rematch with the McKeesport Tigers. An early season victory for Thomas Jefferson, but again, that was a game that Keemon Spell played 3 plays in for McKeesport. So championship rematch in the semifinals. Mars's back-to-back semifinal trips come just to an end at the hand of Coach Bill Chirpak, who gets TJ their 74th playoff win and their 5th win all-time against Mars.
Yeah, the machine's banged up, but it keeps on humming into the semifinals. And as you mentioned, not only the rematch of last year's 4A championship game with McKeesport, but those 2 teams met earlier, TJ handing McKeesport one of their 3 losses. Alex, have a good weekend.
You as well, Don.
All right, Alex Lyons checking in. Before we get to our next recaps, just real quick, let's pause 10 seconds. Station identification on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
You're watching the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Running down the finals real quick, and then we got two more recaps coming up, including one in 4A quarterfinals that was one of the games of the night. 5A, Shaler 28-8 over Kiski area, Moon 48, Armstrong 21, Bethel Park 38, North Hills 7, and Upper St. Clair 46, Plum 8. 4A, McKeesport 44, Chartiers Valley 7, Thomas Jefferson 31-14 over Mars, as you just heard. Aliquippa holds off and defeats Trinity 21-14, and Newcastle Montour, that recap in a second. 3A, first round, Freeport 35, Beaver 27, North Catholic 56-14 over Borough, Hopewell 42, Southmoreland 6, and Highlands 14-0 over Derry. 2A, first round, Mohawk 17, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart 14, South Allegheny 16-13 over Waynesburg Central, Washington 37, Beaver Falls 7, Apollo Ridge 28, Riverside 7, and Elwood City 35, Keystone Oaks 13. Finally, Class A, Fort Cherry 48-14 over Avella, Neshannock 49, Leechburg 14, 35-0 Laurel Blanks, Jefferson Morgan. Recap of that in a moment. Clareton 50, Manessa 0, Jeanette 38, Bentworth 24, Bishop Canevin 50, Greensburg Central Catholic 35, and Fraser 27, California 12. All right, Eric Thomas in the dark of the night in Lawrence County. What a game! As you would expect. Again, not sure why two conference co-champs are playing each other right out of the get-go, but a thriller at Taggart, and the home team prevails.
Yeah, Don, I think this probably went the way everybody thought it was going to be. I think a lot of people thought Montour was going to win this thing tonight, and they really had it in the bag. They started the game out on a 15-play drive that ate up 8 minutes and 22 seconds. They capped it off with a Brandon Bennett touchdown run. It stayed 7-0 for the longest time. There was a point in this game in which freshman quarterback Marino Graham was knocked out, looked like he had a concussion. They took him out to the sideline. They tested him. He didn't play the rest of the first half. Newcastle could not move the ball at all in the first half. In fact, at one point, they had 14 plays. When we got to halftime, Newcastle had run 14 plays. Montour had 15 on the opening drive. So this was about as dominating of a 7-point win or 7-point lead for Montour as it could have been at the half. Newcastle really just couldn't find any kind of offensive rhythm, so they get the ball to start the second half, and they fumble it away. Montour gets it in great starting field position. They're driving to go in for what probably is a stay-ahead touchdown at that point, and they get a face mask penalty called on Newcastle, and the penalty was only half the distance. So Montour should have, in normal field position, if they were like at the 50, would have had a first down at this point, but it only goes half the distance. They still face a fourth down. Bennett goes around the left side. He scores. The touchdown gets nullified because of a holding penalty. Montour backs up. They still can't convert on fourth down. Newcastle then gets the ball back deep in their own territory. They're aided by two Montour penalties that get them up near midfield, just outside of midfield. And then Marino Graham hit Damian Harrison for a 65-yard touchdown pass. They went for two. They got it. They go up 8-7. They're hanging on to a 1-point lead. They're in desperate need, really, of another touchdown to kind of play keep away at this point. Newcastle defense starts playing really, really well at that point in the game. They get the ball back one more time. Graham then also hits Chase Lemon on another touchdown pass, 56 yards. They go up 14-7. They missed a 2-point conversion that stays at 14-7. Montour's got a golden opportunity. They go right down the field. Best offensive drive of the second half, picked off in the end zone by Damian Harrison. Newcastle can't do anything with it. Clock is kind of winding down. Lucero's got 2 timeouts in his back pocket. Montour takes the ball all the way down inside the 5. They get a holding penalty, backs him up. Next play, Brandon Bennett, touchdown pass to Xander Stern, cuts it to 14-13. And Lucero is one of my favorite coaches in the WPIAL, and he will never not be one of my favorites because he goes for 2 to win the game on the road, which I think takes a lot of guts. Could have just easily played for the overtime and kicked the extra point. Goes for 2. It's a really well-designed play. Bennett goes around the left side, tries to cut back to get away from one of the defenders, slips and falls, and he's down. Newcastle recovers the onside kick, and they hang on for an incredible 14-13 win. It's one of the best games I've seen in a long time.
So we had Newcastle Montour part 2 in the quarterfinals. Now we get Newcastle Aliquippa take 2 in the semifinals, to the surprise of no one, I think.
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of people figured it was going to be Parkway all the way in the semifinals. Little disappointed that they put those teams all on one side of the bracket. I think I would have liked to have seen like Mars or somebody else, over on that other side to sort of break those two teams up. But I guess the way it's going to be is somebody's going to have to win the Parkway a second time if they want to win a WPIAL title.
Yep. Eric Thomas, thank you, sir.
Don Rebel, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. You have a good weekend. Eric Thomas checking in. Thriller at Taggart, and Newcastle prevails 14-13. And again, I think it's now commonplace that coaches do it, but kudos to Lucero, figuring we just moved the ball. We got momentum. Why not go for 2 in the win? They didn't get it. And Newcastle holds on for the win. Let's stay in the county, go to Class A, where the Laurel Spartans, man, they've been playing good football all year. Really shining at the end with victories over Southside and Neshannock, and that momentum carries over to the playoffs. Home victory. Lee Moan had the call. Laurel 35, Jefferson Morgan nothing. Lee?
Yeah, sorry, a little late. Phone issues with the first phone. Got a second phone thanks to Mr. Dawson texting another link to another phone. But we are finally here on the show tonight on Laurel's. Jefferson Morgan started well. First of all, they played without their star running back, Deacon DeHoot, for some reason out with injury, so he did not play, and that really affected Jefferson Morgan. They drove the ball pretty well. Got 2 first downs, but then finally Laurel was able to hold them on the first drive of the game, and then they took over and scored with 4:47 to go in the first quarter. A 5-yard pass from Lucas Santini to Jack Miles, making it 7-0. 3 and out, an interception on the next possession with Jefferson Morgan. Laurel would take advantage with 2:11 left in the first quarter. Lucas Santini, a 5-yard run, making it 14-0. And then Colton Carlson, a 5-yard run, about 6 minutes, 32 seconds left in the half, making it 21-0. Santini at Ethan and Milla with a 16-yard pass in the third quarter with about 3:29 left, making it 28-0. And then JJ McBride finishes it off, making it 35-0. The mercy rule in effect. But Jefferson Morgan really just couldn't get anything going. The defense was staunch all night long. Nathan Hill with 57 yards rushing, Colton Carlson with 89 rushing, JJ McBride 64 yards rushing, over 200 yards rushing on the night, and Santini with his 2 touchdown passes and 1 running on the night. So not the most well-played game for Laurel, but as they say, Dawn, a win is a win, and they move on to play Southside next week.
Yeah, Southside, we believe we're trying to confirm the final, but we think it was 26-21 over Chartiers Houston, and that would be another rematch.
Correct.
Yeah, Big 7 conference team. Not from week 9, but this week 8, in which Laurel beat Southside pretty good. So we'll see what happens.
But another week, though.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, never know what could happen.
You can't carry it over, that's for sure. Thank you, Lee.
Hey, not a problem. Take care.
All right, Lee Moan checking in. We appreciate him having patience to join us. So we got another week recap coming up in a moment. So again, it looks like now we're getting. We'll just hold off on that Chartiers Houston Southside. Chris sends me a note that Chartiers Houston won 26-21. So it looks like the Buccaneers won that game 26-21 over Southside. So that would be a little bit of a surprise. Number 12 over number 5. And it wouldn't be a rematch. Chartiers Houston taking on Laurel if that's the case in a quarterfinal matchup next week. Again, we will work on confirming that. The other winners before we get to our next recap: 5A, Shaler, Moon, Bethel Park, Upper St. Clair, the 4 teams that were hosting playoff games tonight, all won. McKeesport, Thomas Jefferson, Newcastle win at home. Aliquippa wins on the road in Class 4A. 3A, Freeport, North Catholic, and Highlands win at home, with Hopewell picking up a victory on the road. 2A, Mohawk, South Allegheny, Washington, Elwood City, and Apollo Ridge all win at home. So you see how important home field advantage is. And in Class A, Fort Cherry, Laurel, Clairton, Bishop Canevin win at home. For Class A, the home teams didn't hold up as well. Neshannock wins on the road. Jeanette wins on the road. Fraser wins on the road. And Chartiers Houston apparently wins on the road. So that would be 4-4. Other than that, only Aliquippa and Hopewell were victors on the road here this evening. All right, let's bring in Sean Saputo. Sean had the call on the network of the matchup between the 8 and the 9 seeds in Class 5A. Shaler hosting Kiski area, and the Cavaliers, their 4th victory, sends them to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, the Shaler Titans had it tonight, and it was Aaron Aversa, the quarterback, who was the big key player for the Shaler Titans tonight. First quarter, 6:09 to go, 7-yard pop pass. Braden Witkowski for the touchdown made it 7-0. Would tack on one more score in the second quarter as he ran it in from 2 yards out to make it 14-0. Third quarter, Shaler throws up a 60-yard touchdown run from Isaac McKay to lead 21-0. And then in the fourth quarter, with 5:42 to go, Aversa's third touchdown of the night, second on the ground, a 1-yard rushing touchdown. Shaler was up 28-0. Kiski finally hit the scoreboard with 4:39 to go on the ensuing possession after a 59-yard pitch and catch from Landon Artman to Tegan Shirley. Andrew Finney capped off the drive with a 25-yard touchdown reception. They would go for 2. Artman would hit Shirley for that 2-point conversion to round out the scoring at 28-8. Kiski, like last week against Woodland Hills, 3 times got deep into Shaler territory, came away with no points. They had a dropped pass in the end zone from 45 out and 23 out on 2 separate occasions, and threw an interception in the end zone in this game. Artman goes 18 of 33 for 213 yards, a touchdown and a pick. The young sophomore showing a lot of future presence for this Kiski Cavalier team that finishes 4-7. As for Shaler, Aversa goes 7 of 8 in the air for 77 yards and a touchdown, ran for another 70 and 2 touchdowns. McKay runs for 109 yards and a touchdown in this game as Shaler puts up 315 yards to just a total of 274 for the Kiski Cavaliers. So Cavaliers call it a 4-7 season. They have a young core looking to continue to get better for next year. As for the Shaler Titans, they have a rematch with the Pine Richland Rams for the second time in 3 weeks, lost in the final week of the regular season last week, 49-17. So a tall task upcoming for the victorious Shaler Titans next week.
Cavaliers to advance, as Sean mentioned, to take on the big dog, the Pine Richland Rams. Sean, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Don.
All right, Sean Saputo checking in. We're going to stick in 5A in a moment. I do want to confirm that is a final. Chartiers Houston 26, Southside 21. Ram season ends at 8-3. The Buccaneers, third place in the Black Hills Conference, on their way to the quarterfinals, where they will take on Laurel. So 4-4 Class A teams go. 4 teams from home or at home win. 4 teams on the road win. Whereas in the other 4 conferences, 17 games, home teams were 15-2. One of those teams winning at home, the Bethel Park Blackhawks. Paul Patera had the call on the network. He joins us now as the Hawks. When they score, they are tough to beat. And if you look, the common denominator is if you keep them in check, those are the games that they have lost this year. Winners tonight.
Yeah, 38-7. This is a team that's averaged over 36 points a game. A side story in this one was David Dennison, the running back for Bethel Park, came into this week He finished the regular season 10th in the WPIAL in rushing, 14th in scoring. Bethel Park's offense takes the field on the first possession, and Dennison is not on the field. He's sprinting up and down the sidelines, jumping up and down. So obviously there was some little kind of nick, some kind of injury there, but Bethel Park still drove down the field and scored on that first possession. Dennison's backup, Tyler Miller, with the touchdown run. North Hills tied the score, 7-yard touchdown pass from the sophomore quarterback Austin Ellis to Joey Lutz. And that's where the score remained till the midway point of the second quarter. And I guess at that point, Coach Phil Peckich decided, I got to get my horse in there. I got to get David Dennison in the game. 4 plays later, all runs by Dennison. He's got a touchdown, and Bethel Park took a 14-7 lead. And that lead stretched to 21-7 on another Dennison touchdown run at the half. Dennison just a little bit more carrying the ball in the second half. He had 11 carries, 84 yards. Tyler Miller, 16 for 68, by the way. And when Mitch Montani went down to talk to Phil Peckich after the game, he wasn't really forthcoming with a lot of information on Dennison, only to say is, we knew the kind of situation we had tonight. We weren't sure how much we were going to have him available, but he was available enough for them to win the game 38-7, a couple of touchdowns in the second half for Bethel Park. A touchdown pass by Evan Devine, KK Kawea, 66-yard run, and a 22-yard field goal by Isaiah Jackson. Evan Devine, another weapon for Bethel Park. The quarterback threw for 178 yards. North Hills sophomore quarterback Austin Ellis, 152 yards passing. Joey Lutz, 3 catches for 125 yards. So Bethel Park improves to 7-4 and will now go to play Peters Township, a team the Blackhawks lost to 35-0 last week. And the interesting story then, will David Dennison be available for Bethel Park? He has been the horse. The game we had a couple of weeks ago against South Fayette, he carried the ball 41 times. They're not afraid to let him tote the pigskin. And the surprising thing, not getting a lot of Division I looks. From what I understand, the only offer he's gotten so far is from Slippery Rock. Not that there's anything wrong with Slippery Rock, but this is a good running back. And I don't know, when he was walking on the sidelines, you could see just a slight limp. But that'll be the story. Will he be able to go against Peters Township next week? Because I don't think Bethel Park wins without Dennison if he can go next week. Evan Devine's a great quarterback. I mean, a great story. Was playing golf at this time last year for Bethel Park. A good quarterback. But I think for Bethel Park to have any chance, and like you said, Don, offense is Bethel Park's thing. They did play some good defense. They swarmed North Hills, but Dennison's got to play.
Hey, even with all your weapons, as they found out, I thought that was the most underrated and impressive thing in week 9, because we're talking about playoff clinchings and everything. There wasn't a whole lot of drama of playoff as far as the playoff picture was concerned in that Bethel Park Peters Township game last week. Peters had already been locked into 1 and Bethel pretty much locked into 4 and assumed an assumed wild card. But the way Peters Township shut down and shut out Bethel Park, I thought that was extremely impressive. Indians can play some great defense, so it's got to be hands on deck if Bethel Park's going to have any chance of pulling off the upset of their neighbors down Route 19.
And that might have been the thought of the coach, figuring he'd use Dennison just as much as he had to tonight. Yeah. So maybe he can have him ready for Peters Township. They were already without one of their top receivers. Sabados was out with an injury tonight. Bethel Park's got a good defense. They swarmed to the football. They, held the North Hills offense in check. North Hills went with the sophomore quarterback tonight, Austin Ellis, instead of the senior McCarthy. But, Bethel Park, that was the story of the game. And I found myself after every play watching Dennison on the sidelines to see what he was doing and to see if he was going to be coming into the game.
A proud member of the Slippery Rock University Media Hall of Fame, Paul Patera,
thank you, sir.
Always willing to pimp the green and white. Paul, thank you. Have a good weekend, my friend.
You too, sir.
All right, Paul Patera checking in. As Bethel Park wins 38-7, and that's an intriguing note. As he banged up, obviously he did well when he was out there. Coaches keep everything close to the vest, don't they? So we'll see what happens, but they need him at full throttle. They need everybody at full throttle to have a chance against the number 2 Peters Township next week. I want to give you, before we get into a break and then get into the playoff edition of the roundtable, 3 City League teams were in action tonight, and it didn't go well. Class 5A regional semifinals. These are like play-ins to get to the PIAA playoffs, which technically will begin in 2 weeks. PIAA 5A regionals. Hollidaysburg, this is an undefeated team from District 6, the Golden Tigers, 69-8 over the Alderdice Dragons. So the Dragons season officially over at 4-6. 4A regional semifinals. The freshly minted City League champion Wildcats of University Prep, their season is over. They lose to Clearfield. Bison blank the Wildcats 14-0. Clearfield 8-3 heading into the 4A regional finals next week. And finally, in the 2A regional semifinals, Central Clarion, another District 9 team, 56, Perry 8. The Commodores season ends at 1-8. Central Clarion 7-4, moving on to the 2A semifinals. So no Brashear, but Alderdice, University Prep, and Perry all lose. All three were playoff teams in the City League this year, including the champion Wildcats. They're done. Westinghouse, well, you're saying, what about the Bulldogs? They've made noise. They've gone to PIAA championships in recent years. They're in the Class A playoffs, and they had a bye through the regionals. So they are sitting in the first round, and they will wait. So that's a 2-week bye. They did not play this weekend. They won't play next weekend. So it's going to be a long layoff since losing to University Prep till their first round state playoff game. But Westinghouse is the lone team still alive from District 8, the Pittsburgh City League, after Alderdice, University Prep, and Perry all lose in regional semifinals this evening. And we're knocking on the door of the road to Hershey. That will, again, technically begin in 2 weeks. That's the same weekend that the 4A and 6A WPIAL championships are being held. So those winners go into the state quarterfinals. And it will also be the same weekend as the 5A, 3A, 2A, and Class A semifinals. And those eventual champions at Acrisure will go into the PIAA semifinals. They only have to win one game to get to the championship. The champions in 6A and in 4A only have to win, or have to win 3 games. Their path is a little longer to state gold. All right, why don't we take a break? When we return, we hope to be joined by the great Bob Orquist. He is joining us on this week's edition of the Roundtable to talk some playoff football opening night around the WPIAL. It's the WPIAL Scoreboard Show, Week 10 edition, here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
This is Miles. He needs PT. Jess needs training. And Max needs both. And while they're all athletic, at AHN Sports Medicine, we know they each need a little something different to hit their goals. Our doctors and specialists pinpoint that difference and make a personalized plan to improve Miles's backswing, and Max's throwing arm, and Jess's form. Because at AHN Sports Medicine, we see you.
The Rebel Yell podcast with Don Rebel happens 4 times a week. Visit with some of the WPIAL's best players in the Player of the Week podcast. Some of the district's top coaches are featured in the Team of the Week podcast. A weekly preview podcast looks at some of the best matchups in the WPIAL. And finally, a Friday night recap podcast with scores and statistical highlights. Find the Rebel Yell podcast on hssn.triblive.com.
And now on Spotify.
Do you need custom printed materials for your school or organization? Hosting a fundraiser or special event? PrintSource can help. Visit printpittsburgh.com for a free quote on yard signs or banners flyers and stickers, invitations, program books and tickets, even yearbooks. We are your single source solution for printed materials, signage, and so much more. Visit us online at printpittsburgh.com. Print Source. Design, print, deliver.
Hi, I'm Adam Goodnack, and I'm a student in Seton Hill University's Wukich School of Nursing. I did my clinical rounds throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and it strengthened my belief in the path that I chose. I could really feel that I was making an impact. The faculty in my coursework at Seton Hill has prepared me to dive right into my field. I've received personalized support and expert guidance. I'm moving forward as a nurse of tomorrow at Seton Hill University. Hi, I'm Adam Goodnack, and I'm a student in Seton Hill University's Wukich School of Nursing. I did my clinical rounds throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and it strengthened my belief in the path that I chose. I could really feel that I was making an impact. The faculty in my coursework at Seton Hill has prepared me to dive right into my field. I've received personalized support and expert guidance. I'm moving forward as a nurse of tomorrow at Seton Hill University.
This is Micah. He tweaked his shoulder. So did Max. And Miles did too. And while they could all use some quality PT, at AHN Sports Medicine, we know they each need a little something different to make a comeback. Our doctors and specialists pinpoint that difference and make a personalized rehab plan to protect Miles' backswing, and Max's throwing arm, and Micah's serve. Because at AHN Sports Medicine, we see you.
You're watching the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Back at World Headquarters, Don Rebel with you. The WPIAL Scoreboard Show Week 10 edition presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates. Go local, go with Edgar, helping injured people since 1982. And they are making our WPIAL playoff coverage possible this entire school year. There you go, edgarsnyder.com. All right, so Chris Lackner keeping us updated, our producer, on what's going on at Highmark Stadium as well. It's the WPL Soccer Championships going on. Many of you may not really care, but nonetheless, we are a high school sports network as opposed to many others who just focus on one particular sport. We're going to get to the football talk here in a moment, but I just want to update real quick. The 4A championship, boys soccer championship game going on right now. Double overtime, Seneca Valley and Fox Chapel are scoreless. The 3A boys championship is tomorrow at noon, West Allegheny against Franklin Regional. 2A, Deer Lakes defeated Beaver 3-2, so the Lancers celebrating their third WPIAL boys soccer championship. And Bentworth, 3 straight, first time since Quaker Valley back in the early 90s for a boys soccer team to win 3 straight WPIAL championships. Bentworth 3, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart 1. Earlier this evening in the girls 4A championship, double overtime, North Allegheny 2-1 over Seneca Valley. Congratulations to the Tigers, the 3A or the 4A champions. The 3A champions crowned on Wednesday was Fox Chapel. Congratulations to the Foxes, 2-1 winners in double overtime over South Fayette. The 2A girls championship is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Burrell against Freeport. And the Class A girls soccer championship went to Bentworth, their first ever championship, 1-0. They defeated Swickley Academy last night. And quickly, girls volleyball, the 4 championships are slated for tomorrow. In 4A, it will be Pine Richland, a stunning upset of powerhouse North Allegheny. The Rams will take on the host team, Peters Township. All these matches are at Peters Township. That's scheduled for 5 o'clock. The 3A championships, Oakland Catholic against Beaver. That's at 3 o'clock. 2A, Hopewell against Avonworth at 1 o'clock. And at 11 a.m., Eden Christian Academy against Sarah Catholic. That's the volleyball championships at Peters Township. Bob Orquist, kind enough to join us now. Robert, a tip of the cap to you, my friend. I know that you had a thrilling night of excitement and just plain old fun. But we will break down what has happened here tonight.
Trying to get HSN logo a little
yeah,
flavor.
but you know what? I mean, the hat. What's we look forward when we hear that you're going to be on to seeing the coif. There you go.
It's a little messy.
No, it's a mess. It doesn't even move. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Well, I wear many hats on a Friday night, including this one, and writing. I had trouble getting out of McKeesport. I just jumped on Keeman spells back, and here I am.
Okay. That's right, like a silver bullet or something like that. All right, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, no 6A tonight and Class A. No 6A tonight. That's next week. So where do you want to start, my friend?
Let's go 5A, and then once you read the scores, I can give you some particulars on McKeesport victory when we get to 4A. But let's start at the top and work down.
Good call. We'll start in 5A, where all four home teams were victorious. Number 8, Shaler, defeats Kiski area 28-8. Up next for the Titans is top seed Pine Richland. Moon 48, Armstrong 21. That was close early. Tigers pull away. Moon, what are we doing? The bracket show here all of a sudden? Because we're so used to it with Bobby. Moon 48-21. They will next play number 4 Penn Trafford at PT next week. Bethel Park 38, North Hills 7. Another rematch. Bethel Park and Peters Township again for the second time in 3 weeks next week at PT. And Upper St. Clair 46, Plum 8 sets up a really good quarterfinal matchup. Upper St. Clair at the Wolverina taking on number 3 Woodland Hills.
Yeah, a healthy Woodland Hills this year as opposed to last year's playoffs where they lost to Bethel Park. For Upper St. Clair, they were down 8-0 in that game.
Yeah.
So they get all unanswered points after
Big
that
6.
to take care of the Plum. Plum scores, they go for 2. Like, here we go, right? But give credit to Upper St. Clair. Just heard Paul's report when I was driving here back to home base, and you're going to need, you said it, right? All hands on deck, David Dennison. To beat Peters Township, you need everyone. So that's a big factor in that one. And then on the other side, Aaron Aversa is a good two-way threat. Give credit to Shaler, right? They got 4 wins. They got 4 wins that they when and where they needed to get them, right? But they were shut out 2 weeks ago. It's Pine Richland. I would not be surprised. No, I don't want to disrespect anyone, and they can call me out if it doesn't happen. No, not be surprised if it's Pine Richland and Peters Township playing for the championship. Here's the thing. I heard a score early on with Armstrong, and I was like, maybe the committee with Armstrong, maybe the committee knew something that we didn't, but that didn't turn out that way for the Riverhawks.
No. So as expected in Class 5A. 4A, kind of a muddled mess coming in. I think everybody kind of agreed that there were plenty of head scratchers with the setup of this bracket. Nonetheless, 3 of the 4 games, 2 of the 4 games, really good. On the left side of the bracket, not so much. McKeesport, the game that you will recap here in a moment, 44-7 over Char Valley. Thomas Jefferson, very, very impressive in shutting down a pretty good Mars team. Late score by Mars makes it somewhat respectable, but 31-14 Jaguars over the Fighting Planets. And then all those Parkway teams jammed on the right side, and, man, they produced some excitement. Aliquippa on the road to number 2 Trinity, 21-14. Quips over the Hillers. Up next for Aliquippa, rematch with Newcastle. The Parkway Conference champions collide, and it goes down to the wire, literally. Newcastle, 14, Montour, 13, Spartans, scoring in the final minute, going for 2, and Brandon Bennett slips when trying to cut back, and the Spartans fall to the Canes.
So you got Bennett and Graham, good sophomore, good freshman quarterback there. So you'd expect to hear from them. Correct me if I'm wrong, I was trying to think of this when I was hearing that they went for 2. Lucero, one of the coaches who consistently does that?
Yeah,
We always have coaches that we know, yeah, they're going to go for 2.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought
Jack
he was one of
McCurry
them.
was really of the old North Hills coach was the first one that consistently did that back in the conservative days. More coaches than not, I would think, go for it in that situation now. They want to have that control, and yes, it's one play instead of kicking it and going to overtime. I'm not saying everybody goes for it, but Lou, that's kind of been his MO, especially you just drove the length of the field and scored, so why not?
You know, that comes with a Cal U education. I got to counteract all that slippery rock talk
That's
out there,
hey,
you know.
wow. Okay,
So
no, that's fair. That's fair.
it's maybe unfortunate those two again meeting in the first round. Aliquippa got, I believe Marcus Council came back.
Yeah.
And Trinity's tough, right? They're more than just Jonah Williamson. They're a really tough team. He's going to
Jonah's
Harvard
pretty
for a
good
reason.
though.
But they stopped earlier in the game, Trinity, twice Aliquippa on an and goal situation from the 1, but the quips are the quips, right? So they take care of business, as does TJ. They've figured it out with Tyler Eber. They're running with an extra offensive lineman. That has worked. What worked tonight for McKeesport is what's kind of always worked, right? Their flex bone. This game, by the way, Don, was 7-7 early in the second quarter. McKeesport scored late. Keeman Spell had 4 touchdowns. His first one made it 7-0. Charvelli went with a trick play, halfback option. They threw a big 55-yard touchdown pass to Julian Best, and it was 7-7, 37 unanswered from that point for McKeesport. Matt Miller runs for a touchdown, throws a touchdown pass to Javian Robinson. And then they got a safety. Charvelli snaps it over the punter's head. He goes back, instead of diving on it, just kicks it out of the end zone. It's 23-7. Spell from 31, from 6, and from 10. He's got 4 touchdowns tonight. He's got 27 touchdowns on the season. He's now over 1,200 yards. And then Matt Miller threw for 100, ran for 1, threw for 1. Javian Robinson is back and healthy. He had an interception that he returned 81 yards that set the final score. Spell had an interception. Spell only played 3 snaps against TJ in week 2, which is week 3. 16-7. That was the week where the Brad Dawson tragedy went.
Yeah.
So McKeesport lost to TJ. He'll make a difference. Matt Miller told me afterwards, we're healthy. Javian Robinson is healthy. Our lineman is healthy. He said, you're just happy you play wherever, whenever, whoever, right? Doesn't matter. It's TJ. Yep. It's a rival. You just play and you win and you play again. So they're excited for that matchup. That, Don, by the way, was the championship matchup last year. TJ won 28-7 over McKeesport.
Yep. And they played earlier this year. Again, as you mentioned, TJ winning that one. Keeman Spell, he's a man playing with boys. He is that good, and he's only a junior. Big difference maker.
Let me tell you this, Don. Okay, you got time for this list? It's impressive. Good. So he decommits from Penn State. Here's the list: Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Akron, Florida State, Marshall, Pitt, Tennessee, UCLA, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, NC State, Auburn, and Nebraska. I think Keeman Spell is going to be okay.
I think he'll land on his feet.
He could go back to Penn State as well, too. But, right, he's going to land on his feet somewhere playing big-time college football.
He's such a weapon. And we have seen for many, many years, Bobby, this McKeesport team, the old flex bone, they've always got a weapon at quarterback, running back, that threat, that somebody who can just rip it 85 yards, no problem. But Matt Miller, the younger, really gives them a different look and something that I think makes them even harder to prepare for.
So the key to that quarterback position all the time, right? You got to make the decision. Do you hand it off? Do you belly? He pulled it out and ran a couple times. They pushed him for a couple first downs on 3rd and short. His option read was a run to the left on the quarterback draw. But I talked to Matt, the older Matt, Coach Matt, and he said he's a coach's son, and that plays into it. He was a water boy 10 years ago. So he's been around the game. He knows when to make decisions. And he's done some good things for that team. So he's a key too. We get a little tougher, I would think, with TJ because they're bigger and more physical than Chartiers Valley. But a good year for Steve Spence, right? There's not a lot of playoff history to talk about for Char Valley.
I agree.
Even though they're still stuck on 2 wins, I think it's a big year number 1 for the Colts.
I definitely agree.
Or a big year number 1 for Steve Spence and the Colts.
I'll be spending this weekend selecting a WPL Player of the Week and a Team of the Week, and I'll have to ignore 4A. We have had as Players of the Week Keeman Spell from McKeesport, Marino Graham of Newcastle, Tyler Eber of Thomas Jefferson, and Aliquippa was our Team of the Week. So I'll have to
There's
look.
your semifinalist. There's your semifinalist, right? Just for old time's sake and for grins and giggles, can you say Tyler Eber on the carry? That's a TJ, right? Bill Chirpak
Tyler
figures
Eber
it
on
out.
the carry for the Jaguars.
He figures it out, whether it be passing, whether it be let's run this guy 45 times.
That's
That
right.
seems to be what's worked to get them into the playoff mode and into the semifinals with Tyler Eber.
We talked about in 5A, Pine Richland, Penn Trafford, Peters Township, Woodland Hills, all hosting quarterfinal games next week. 4A to semifinals, neutral sites for TJ McKeesport and Aliquippa Newcastle that will be announced, I believe, tomorrow by the WPIAL. To 3A now, your four final scores, Freeport 35, Beaver 27, North Catholic 56, Burrell 14, Hopewell wins on the road at Southmoreland 42-6, and Highlands blanks Derry 14-0. Next week, same as 5A, the four teams that had byes will be hosting. Avonworth will be home to Freeport, Elizabeth Forward home to North Catholic, Imani Christian. I'm not sure how much defense will be played in this one, but the Saints will be hosting Hopewell, and Highlands visits Sarge Albert and the Central Valley Warriors. Not Sarge Albert and the Central Valley Warriors, Sarge Albert, home of the Central Valley Warriors.
Home of the Central Valley. If no one else got the reference, James Dotson texted Quentin Hill on the carry, so one person understood.
That's all.
There are a few others out there who might have got that reference. But let me say this, I'm not really surprised. Southmoreland, they had a great season, and they cut down a little bit at the end, and maybe up and down with the transfers and that. Boobo Armstrong is really good. Hopewell is really better, right? Yep. So no surprise there. Highlands has Kratzenberg, who's a really good athlete. And they had a big victory over Freeport in overtime to get ahead of Freeport in the standings. So not surprised there in a tight one. North Catholic, that offense is really good. That's the thing to be worried about right there. Burrow, side note, congratulations to Antonio Perkins. I believe he set the single season rushing record tonight for Burrow. So congratulations, even though it's a losing effort. But Joey Felitsky is good. They've got some good, talented depth wide receivers, pretty good running back. So that's interesting. And then Freeport, that's a good recovery. Beaver is a pretty good opponent, I thought. Freeport, they got it handed to them pretty much last week by Monty Christian. So they recovered from that, and now here they're in the quarterfinals. But I agree with you. Hopewell, Imani. If you like the offense, that might be your ticket next week.
All right, let's go to 2A, 5 first-round games. So there will be, I believe, a neutral site game next week. Really good game. Mohawk 17, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart 14. Late field goal wins it for the Warriors. Up next, they get top seed Seton LaSalle. South Allegheny 61, Waynesburg Central 13. The Gladiators will now play Washington in the 4-5 game. Little Prexies defeat Beaver Falls 37-7. Apollo Ridge, one of the tri-champions in the Allegheny Conference, 28-7 over Riverside. The Vikings will travel, and it is a long trek, to Industry to take on Western Beaver. First ever night playoff game at Western Beaver. And Elwood City 35, Keystone Oaks 13. The Wolverines make the trek south to Campbell Field and Munhall to take on Steel Valley.
So let's throw Kyle Dawson into the category. He got the reference too. But South Allegheny, maybe they were a little ticked off, right? Losing to Steel Valley last week. They took it out of Waynesburg. Paul Ridge has had a really good season. I'm not surprised that they took out Riverside. They said Mohawk, they some injuries maybe this year, but they've got some really talented athletes too, with Bobby Fadden being one of them. So big close victory, one of the close games. We'll get the A because we got a lot of single A talking about there. And then Washington, Beaver Falls, it's a nice comeback for them. I talked a little bit about Char Valley, right? Beaver Falls, perennial championship team several years ago, fell off the table, came back this year with a nice rebound. So it'll be up for them to build. But I like some of the matchups here, like South Allegheny. Again, really, really talented athletically. And some of those players we saw winning the basketball championship are stars on the football team as well for the Gladiators.
Yeah, that's a really, the 4-5 matchup there, a really good one. And I think that the top seed LaSalle is going to have their hands full with Mohawk. Again, the Warriors, it came down to the wire before they
shout out Andrew Lloyd with the walk-off field goal. Andrew Lloyd for the walk-off field goal to win that game. Long pass after Olsh tied it up, and then, just survive in advance. No matter how you do it, you're into the next round.
All right, let's go to Class A, where the quarterfinals are set, and these will be neutral sites next week. Fort Cherry, as expected, beats Avella 48-14. Neshannock, big over Leechburg. Maybe not a surprise, the outcome, but how they got it. 49-14, the Lancers win over the Blue Devils. Laurel shuts out Jefferson Morgan 35-0. They will next play Chartiers Houston, a bit of an eyebrow raiser. The 12th seed Buccaneers with a win at Southside, 26-21, Bucks over the Rams. Clairton, the shutout streak continues, 50-0 over Monessen. They see a familiar face in the next round, the Jeanette Jayhawks, who were winners at Bentworth, 38-24. I wanted to split this up, so I apologize. We'll just start in the top half first, and then I'll run down the finals from the bottom half, or the right side.
So I don't have a bracket, so.
Oh, okay. Well, Fort Cherry winning, Neshannock winning,
you went to the
Laurel winning, and Char Houston winning.
You went to the bullpen late, and you called
I did.
in. You went down the list. No one was
I just
available.
told you the 4 teams. I just told you them.
Well, I'm going to ask you again because I've been jabbering.
All
you
right.
went down the list, and you said no one's available. Let's get Orquist.
Be quiet.
Okay, send it to me.
Fort Cherry, Neshannock beating Leechburg.
Got it.
Laurel shutting out Jefferson Morgan, and Char Houston, a surprise winner at.
So I'm going to start there.
Yeah.
Because remember a few weeks ago, Char Houston knocked Cornell out of the playoffs with an improbable last play victory. So they've been riding that high, and give them credit.
Yes.
Taking care of business. So they maybe were in that let's keep winning playoff mode before you actually get into the playoffs. So congratulations there. Leechburg, I'm surprised at the final score. Tim and Dracy, fantastic year. Because I expected a drop off because a couple of their top players had graduated, but he picked up the ball literally and had a great year. But Neshannock took care of business. Laurel was another one, right? You said Laurel?
Correct.
Jefferson Morgan. Santini and the running by committee. That's what you got to do right there, right? Yep. So you can't just play on one guy. And then Fort Cherry. Matt Sig is a decommit from Penn State. That kid's going to be all right wherever he lands too. He's now Don's second all-time rusher in WPIAL history. You know who he passed? Also a Fort Cherry player.
Oh, kid from the early 2000s.
That's correct. Forgetting it.
Give me his initials.
MV.
Mike Vanilla.
Mike Vernillo.
Mike Vernillo.
Mike Vernillo.
Mike Vanilla.
This Matt Sig is one of those, we talk about Terrell Pryor. My list, Matt Sig, and many other lists is in there as the phenomenal athletes we've seen come through the WPIAL.
Yep.
Doing it at a small school, and they've lost, I believe this senior class has only lost 3 times so far in their 4 years.
Isn't that incredible? They have been fantastic. Incredible. 2 of those in state championship games. 2 of those losses. Before we go to the bottom half of the bracket, the WPL Scoreboard Show presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates. Go local, go with Edgar, helping injured people since 1982. Visit edgarsnyder.com if you're mad at the world and you want to, if you're been injured and you want to take matters into the legal system, edgarsnyder.com.
I need Edgar to teach me the signature point. I didn't do very well there. But thank you, Edgar Snyder and Associates.
Got to have a little confidence behind that. Bottom of this, now this is the bottom side here. Clareton 50-0 over Monessen. I went over that. Jeanette 38, Bentworth 24. Speaking of great players, Ben Hayes career over. 50-35, a wild one at Dormont Stadium. Bishop Canavan survives Greensburg Central Catholic. And the Fraser Commodores, we talk about Chartiers Houston, what a great story, what a great year. The Fraser Commodores fit the bill as well. 27-12, they knock out California.
Yeah, no wins, and now they've got a victory and a team that, California's got some pretty good talent there. So congratulations to Fraser. I think Greensburg Central was winning over Bishop Canavan earlier. So that's the shootout right there of the night with the 85 points. So you got to get it done however you get it done. Jeanette facing maybe number issues again as far as, on the team. But they've got talent that's used to winning. So no surprise there. Let's talk about Clareton, right? Zero tolerance is always the thing. They lost in week 1. 19-12, Don, to Amani Christian.
Right.
10 straight shutouts since then, and not even close. Not even close.
No.
It's just an incredible run that they are on.
I think everybody, and this was really a feeling going in, and I even said it, at the start of the year too. Yes, Fort Cherry and Clareton, last year's finalists, heavy favorites. But really, after those two, there's quite a gap. But the rest of the teams, I thought we saw some good races, and I think we're going to see some good action outside of Clareton Fort Cherry games. Those other two quarterfinal games next week should be very entertaining. So there's some good football in Class A over the last few years, but Fort Cherry and Clareton are on a different planet.
No question about it. And Fort Cherry, as we mentioned, right, getting the victory over Clareton. They beat Southside 2 years ago, I believe. You're right. So we take we said 3 losses throughout the 2 state championship games and just 1 loss outside of that. So it's been fantastic. And this Clareton team, that's just incredible. We've talked about it, the 60-plus game winning streak, and, that team didn't get up a lot of points, but this has just been so impressive. And they were in position to win that game against Amani Christian. They didn't get it done, but they've certainly proved their mettle with that defense as well.
Determined and a little chip on their shoulder. I mean, I
agree.
They went toe-to-toe in that championship game last year with Fort Cherry. Rangers, 2 big 4th down plays on the winning drive was the difference, but I think that has driven the black and orange since last November. The Class A quarterfinals, again, these will be neutral sites. It'll be Fort Cherry 11-0 against Neshannock at 8-3. Laurel at 10-1 against Chartiers Houston at 8-3. Clareton at 10-1 against 8-3 Jeanette. And Bishop Canavan at 8-3, taking on 7-4 Fraser. And if you do the math, Bobby, before we wrap up Class A, Tri-County South, 0-4.
No, I'm not going to pile on. We may have said that a time or two in the Scoreboard show in the past, too.
Yes.
So I guess I did pile on.
Yes. They're not to the depths of the old Keystone Conference, but it's kind of close. It's kind of close.
It'll be fun. This will be a fun quarterfinal round in Class A.
The talk, I wanted to get your opinion, and there's, I want to, and again, let me do this real quick before I forget. Tip of the cap to Kiski area, Armstrong, Plum, North Hills, Trinity, Montour, Mars, Chartiers Valley, Beaver, Burrell, Derry, Southmoreland, Riverside, Keystone Oaks, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, Waynesburg Central, Beaver Falls, California, Greensburg Central Catholic, Bentworth, Monessen, Avella, Leechburg, Jefferson, Morgan, and Southside. Very positive seasons. You get into the playoffs, that's an accomplishment. They all lose tonight and their seasons are over, but nonetheless, one final tip of the cap to all those teams. There's going to be discussion, and I have a feeling that it's outside of maybe a couple tweaks, there won't be major changes. But one of the things that the WPIAL Football Steering Committee will, once the numbers come out and the classification numbers and all that are determined by the state, they will get together and decide what they want to do as far as these next 2 years. Do they just want to tweak things, keep it 6 classes, the kind of the way it is now? Or do they want to make a drastic change? One of the proposals is going back to 4 classifications, and then once the district playoffs are over, determining which 6 teams will move on to the PIAA state playoffs. Boy, I would love that to happen, but I don't think it will. What are your 2 cents?
So I'm going to start with the second part of that first. Because before the game, we had the conversation, was talking about 4A. And I heard also just going back to 5 classes and then 5 and 6 interspersed and then splitting out. So I like the end, right? Splitting out, determine which teams will go to the separate state championships. But yes, I think downsizing, if that's the right word, classification-wise, to 5 or even 4 would make it a lot better, a lot more interesting, maybe a lot better football. You could then, it's a lot more work. I understand that. It's a lot more cumbersome when you're back down to 4 classifications. But you could also get some of the teams who have been struggling, maybe some less difficult, similar competition, which may help those programs rebuild. But I think, there's been 6A has not been a lot of drama. Maybe some of the championships, maybe some getting the 4th team into the playoffs for 6A. 5A has been without a doubt the toughest classification, the best classification in the last 2 years. So I would like that. I heard more talk about 5 classifications instead of 4, but I would throw my hat, this one right here, into the ring for making it 5 or 4 and then just making decisions. Of course, then you're going to make decisions and people are going to be upset. But that is what it is. People got upset for the bracket. But I'm with you. I think that is the best way to go.
That's why I think they're going to just tweak it because, again, anytime you have big change in a sport, especially when it comes to the postseason, or in this case, the whole season, not just the postseason, you're going to have people complaining. And I get how coaches, because now there are 6 champions. So every coach is like, yeah, okay, I like that because it improves by just simple math, your chances of making the playoffs and then of participating and maybe even winning a WPIAL championship. But you can't ignore the watered down effect, and you can't ignore that the highest classification has just been a snooze fest. Last year there were 5 teams, or the last cycle, 5 teams in 6A. That can't continue. And outside of Pine Richland winning a state championship and having to move up, Butler riding in on a white horse isn't necessarily going to help. They still have a decision to make. They haven't decided yet. I just think that if you went back, yes, Central Catholic is always going to have an advantage no matter how many classifications because of just how good that program is. And so I know a lot of schools currently in 5A want no parts of that, but I just think it's better for the league. It's better for the WPIAL as a whole if you shrunk it, and that's what we're trying to do here. I think, right?
I agree. And I also read that Uniontown might want to come back in, so you throw another team into the mix. Let's meet in the middle, right? You started out with conversation maybe 4, and we're at 6. Let's go 5 classes. See how it works out.
Yeah, I don't. I have no problem with that. Like I said, when I heard 4, I just thought back to what we were used to for over all those years prior to 2016. And it wasn't broke. It was something that was forced by the Eastern schools that have a lot more. Like District 1 is loaded with 6A schools. District 12 is mostly 6A schools. The eastern side of the state, where they don't have a lot of smaller school districts, they sort of kind of forced the hand for the PIAA to make that decision. And it's just been, for the highest classification, it has just been rough sledding over the last few years. I think that's something that needs to be addressed, but we'll see. That's down the road.
There's no perfect solution.
No.
Would we, they got 4 classifications, would we be able to dust off Quad A?
Yes.
So on the Rolodex.
Quad A, Triple A, Double A, Single A.
Single A.
The way that God intended it for it to be. That's a definite. Before we wrap up,
I was working on my Edgar Snyder for that.
You point, and I'll say congratulations to the Fox Chapel Foxes. They win in penalty kicks. The boys 4A soccer championship over Seneca Valley. The girls, I think, won 3A. So double gold for Bentworth, double gold for Fox Chapel. Two school districts that can hold their
Fox Chapel. So you said it was a shootout tonight?
Shootout, yes.
The girls one, I believe it was double overtime. So
yes,
they look a little extra, but
they're earning their keep.
Happiness in Fox Chapel.
That's right. That'll do it for the Scoreboard Show, presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates. Go local, go with Edgar, helping injured people since 1982. Great job on short notice by the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Orquist. I knew you could do it, my friend. I knew you could do it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks. It's just fun, right? We all get together. You and I are specific in this case, but everyone. First night of the football playoffs. It's a fun night.
Yep. Officially November football next week, next Friday. It will be semifinals in 6A and 4A, quarterfinals in 5A, 3A, 2A, and Class A. We're going to have all kind of stuff on our website leading up to it. We got the Rebel Yell podcast, Player of the Week, Team of the Week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll do our preview of the second weekend of the second Friday, I guess, of the WPIAL playoffs. Thanks to our producer, Chris Lackner. Great job, Bob Orquist. I'm Don Rebel. We hope you enjoyed it. The WPIAL Scoreboard Show, the Week 10 edition, presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.